off and the clock has started.
Penis!
It's one small step for man, one giant leap for mankind.
Hey guys, welcome to our 13th episode. I messed up our 12th episode, sorry, I messed up our last podcast by saying it was our 10th. But again, I'm Trip Parks, or one of our hosts for the Mart podcast, and I want to have a special little thing for you guys today. We got a Discord set up this past week, and we're offering the first 5 people that direct DM any of the hosts or myself. First 5 are free to get in. After that, it's $5 a person to get our Discord, and make sure you guys check out our Patreon as well. Like, subscribe. But again, welcome to Art Mart. I am Trip Parks, one of your hosts, and
I'm Nathaniel Diamond, one of your other hosts.
And then we have a special guest. Would you like to introduce yourself and plug yourself?
Hi, I'm Arily Michele. I'm based in Denver. I'm an electropop singer. I've got an album out on Spotify. I'm on all of the social medias. I'm not super active on TikTok because, to be honest, I'm a little terrified of it.
And on MySpace? You're on MySpace as well?
No.
So
I forgot about that one. Yeah. Is MySpace still a thing? I should make one. Let's make MySpace come back, guys.
Okay, so we're going to bring back MySpace.
That's the next goal.
And I got some new music coming out in 2022. So, yeah.
Well, I absolutely love it. Well, you ended up contacting us a few weeks ago, and we had some health issues. I got hit by a car, and you ended up having some allergy issues and whatnot.
Yeah, it was either allergies or a really weird cold that lasted like a week. It was the strangest thing ever, but I am kicking it now, so.
Well, I'm glad you're healthy. Honestly,
Me too.
Having a great time, even, just introductions with each other and hanging out. Can you tell us a little bit about your story and, how you got to this, where you're at right now with music?
Yeah, so I am originally from Jacksonville, North Carolina. If you are from North Carolina, you probably know where that is, and if you're not, you're probably like, what?
Wait, I thought that was in Florida.
I know. Some people try to argue with me about that, and I'm like,
no, you're wrong.
I'm like, bitch, I will pull out the birth certificate. Do not think I won't. But I'm a military brat. My dad was a Marine, so we moved around quite a lot. I've lived everywhere from New York and Massachusetts to DC for 5 years. That was super cool. And when my dad retired, as all retirees do, we moved to Florida. I went to Florida State. I studied classical music there. So I'm a classically trained operatic soprano. And I learned some film scoring and stuff there too. And I have a Bachelor of Arts in Music, and I'm currently studying marketing at University of Denver. So, and I finally moved to Denver once I graduated from college because I was like, I need to get the fuck out of Florida.
Same.
So here I am.
Literally same.
Are you from Florida?
No, I went to college there though.
Okay,
I got sick
where
of New York
at?
Winters. Stetson.
Oh, I auditioned there. They were on my list. Yeah, really cool school.
Despite being a school of 3,000 people, it's one of the best music schools in the country.
Yeah,
it's just, there in the middle of nowhere.
super great music school. I know a couple people who I think they did their master's or their doctorates there. So beautiful campus.
And you're our second guest so far that went to FSU and
Oh,
studied
God.
music, which is weird. It's happened twice.
That's really funny.
Each time it's happened.
I guess lightning does strike twice in the same place. Yeah, Florida State was a lot of fun. My
Yes.
background in music, though, I've been singing, songwriting for as long as I can remember. My mom tells me stories about how when I was 2 years old, I would walk around the house belting the song from Titanic.
Oh, wow.
So, for some reason, in middle school, I was in band. I feel
For
like
some reason?
I feel like
it's pretty obvious.
I
You were
don't.
singing Celine Dion before you could pronounce Celine
I was just
Dion.
a theater kid before I was a theater kid, I guess. Yeah, and I don't know how I ended up in band instead of chorus though. I really don't remember the details around that. But my mom was giving me shit the whole time I was in middle school. She was like, "Why are you in band? Why are you playing clarinet of all things? You should be in chorus." I finally took her advice in 9th grade. They had me in band again for some reason. I was like, "Can I be in chorus instead?"
Finally spoke up for yourself.
Yes, I did. Yeah, that was a big win for me. And yeah, when we moved to Florida, I got really involved in the theater program at my high school. So I'm an inaugurated thespian, which sounds really creepy, but it's not. It literally just means I'm a theater kid. That's
Venereal disease.
in fancy terms. And I was also involved in the show choir, so a lot of like performing experience.
Like Broadway kind of stuff-ish?
Yeah, I did a lot of Broadway. I was the baker's wife in Into the Woods my junior year of high school. That was a lot of fun.
So I know you're in marketing. I don't mean to make a weird tangent. But
Yeah.
I saw probably the best bread marketing I've ever seen in my entire life.
Speaking of the baker's wife.
Yeah, well, yeah, I know.
And on that note,
Top tier segue.
yeah.
This is now turned to mental health. This is ADHD. But yeah, so I saw this bread. It was rolls, right? It was like rolls, but
Oh, I think I know what you're talking about.
you know what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
So like it literally the packaging made it look like a guy like pulling up his shirt to make like a 6-pack. So the rolls look like a 6-pack.
That's
It
hilarious.
just says sex sells.
That is hilarious. That is like god tier marketing. I gotta say, I love that shit. Like there's like an Orbit ad, and Orbit gum, and it's gonna live in my head forever because it's at a baseball stadium behind first base, and it goes going for first base, and then there's a picture of the pack of gum. I'm like, that is brilliant.
I love that.
Yeah,
That is
I
brilliant.
love that, and that just
Was
is.
it at a stadium or was it a commercial?
Yeah, I think it was at Wrigley Field actually. I could be wrong.
Oh
though.
wow!
Yeah.
Wait, does Wrigley own Orbit or are
I-
they like?
Oh damn!
Is that like some turf war shit going on?
That might be some turf war shit.
Oh, wow. I'm surprised they don't do that.
You've like
Oh.
uncovered another level of petty. I love that.
of gum turf wars.
So we just discovered a new conspiracy theory that is going on between the gum battles of.
That's what Big Gum doesn't want you to know.
I'm definitely gonna go down a rabbit hole of gum turf wars now.
I'm gonna put that as our hashtag for one of the tags.
Hashtag gum turf wars. If you tag that, I'll repost your stuff. So yeah, tag me and then also add hashtag gum turf wars, and yeah, we'll have some fun.
Well, I love it. So getting back into your chronological, so I didn't mean to make such a tangent on bread rolls
It's cool.
And gum.
and gum.
And the
Yeah.
gum conspiracy that tears the country apart.
We're having fun here. That's all that matters, right?
Go Big Red. I mean, what?
Big Red. Cinnamon gum? Oh.
This is a Hubba Bubba house. Excuse you?
I don't want all the hubbub.
Get out!
I was laughing so hard I couldn't do it in the microphone because it just peaked so hard.
Oh man.
Oh yeah, so getting back to music.
On that note,
Not all
But
those
I'm
notes.
Oh shit!
You're going to get us in trouble for that one.
is that copyrighted or trademarked or something?
Well, no, but you definitely take Mark, one of our other hosts. He just always does unnecessary puns, but that was actually necessary. So
I'll take it.
you
There we
won
go.
Mark, you won Mark 0.
Beating you at your own
Take
game.
that, Mark.
Anyway, music.
So yeah, getting back. So being a Denver artist right now, you were telling me before we were kind of talking a little bit about there's so many other musicians that have already been around the scene for so long. How do you differentiate yourself between them, and what are your goals to get past their level?
So the one thing that I remind myself of constantly, and this has kind of become my mantra, is like comparison is the thief of joy. If I get so hung up
I like
on
that.
Thank you. I didn't come up with it, but it's like,
still like it, though.
yeah, it's a good mantra. And I think that's an important thing for a lot of musicians to keep in mind, because like everyone, I'm definitely guilty of like comparing myself to other people, and they're definitely more established. They've been around a lot longer. They've seen a lot more progress just because they've been around a lot more longer. They've had a lot more time to work toward it. And so I kind of remind myself that like they definitely started out where I am now. You know, kind
Everyone
of
does.
everybody does. And, you know, they get to where they're at by, you know, just believing in themselves and working constantly toward that goal. And that's kind of something that motivates me. And, you know, kind of how I navigate that too is like if there's somebody that I particularly look up to, I try to connect with them. Denver is a small enough music scene still that you can kind of do that a little bit and interact with some people who are, you know, willing to kind of collaborate with you and work with you and just, you know, be friendly. So that's something that I do a lot of. It's just like, hey, you're really cool. Like, you know, want to get on a gig sometime? Like, I'd love to hang out with you. Like that kind of stuff. 'Cause, you know, we're not enemies here. You know, it's
Exactly.
not
Right.
always
It's
like
easy to get
super
caught up in
competitive. So
How long have you lived in Denver?
I've lived here for 3 years.
Were you making or producing your own music before Denver, or just when you moved to Denver, you got that inspiration to really set yourself out there?
So I definitely I've been writing songs my whole life. I've been singing songs
Since
my
you
whole
were
life. Since I was,
2 years old, singing Titanic.
trying to be Celine Dion. And a wee lass. And so what was I saying? Oh God.
About how you've been writing and singing your entire life.
Yes, I did study, because I studied classical music in college. I got really into composing in college. That's kind of where I learned Pro Tools a little bit.
Pro Tools meaning?
You don't know Pro Tools, do you?
No, I don't.
The digital audio workspace workshop.
It's
DAW.
It's industry standard for like high audio and recording.
So I took a film scoring class, and we used Pro Tools because there's that video integration with Pro Tools where you can upload a video and you can score to it.
Yeah.
So I don't produce my own music. I have it produced for me just because I don't have a ton of experience with mixing and mastering. So I work with an audio engineer on that, a producer on that. And but I seriously started pursuing music like as a career when I moved out here. That was kind of one of the reasons why I wanted to break out of Florida. Like I kind of just needed a new place altogether. I needed to just kind of start from the ground up. So I moved out to Denver because I love the geography. I love the scenery. There's a lot of jobs out here that pay you very well, and it's relatively affordable. As much as I like to complain about the rent, it's much worse in other places.
You've been up and down the Northeast.
Yeah. Oh yes. Oh god. Yeah.
Expensive rent.
I mean, I kind of kick myself when I think about how I was like paying $600 a month for a 1-bedroom in Tallahassee, and I'm paying
but it's
almost
also Tallahassee.
Yeah, Tallahassee, and it definitely is. I loved living there when I was in college, but as soon as I graduated, I was like, I need to get the hell out of here. So yeah.
Well, I do want to dive a little bit into what we were talking about before, and you kind of hit on it, like you don't mix and master yourself, right? So I'll give a little bit of myself up for you, Nathaniel, that I have probably like 3 albums worth of music that I will never release because I mixed and mastered it myself.
Okay.
Oh, no.
Us musicians are our hardest critics, and no one can punish us worse than ourselves. Lily, so I want to ask, whether doing it yourself or working with someone else, like how do you get through that barrier of like being your worst critic and like, listen, this is good enough to be heard. Like how do you do that?
So I think something that definitely helps me a lot with coping with that is just doing what I can, what I know is in my limits and it's in my comfort zone, and whatever I can't do or I don't want to do, I leave it to somebody. I have somebody else do it. I love building like good business relationships with people and forging friendships that way too, because I feel like it's a very human thing. It's a very primal thing, I think, to want to do everything yourselves. But like you said, we're our own worst critics.
Right.
And sometimes we need an outside perspective looking in. Because, I talk to my coworkers about this all the time since I work in marketing. It's like when you look at something so much, it starts to look wrong. And you start to
the same word a bunch of times. It doesn't
you're like, that can't be right.
Right.
Is that right? And that's exactly
word.
what it is. And music is the same way. It's the same process. When we put so much of ourselves into it, we kind of project ourselves onto it.
Yes.
And that's kind of when I get, that's why I work with a producer, is because like I can compose it. I could mix and master it myself if I really wanted to and I had the passion to learn it. But I would rather have like an outside perspective saying like, hey, this is kind of the direction that I want to go. I love, like, my producer's great. We're always on the same page about everything, but he has like, he'll insert like his opinion, like, hey, I really think that we should do this for this track. And I'm very receptive to it. And I appreciate that kind of feedback from somebody, because it's, like I said, I get so in my own head and I'm like, this can't be right. And having like an outside perspective kind of grounding me is the biggest thing that helps me with that.
Well, I want to touch a little bit about what you said, because it kind of reminded me of like why we don't release this. So I think almost like when we write songs, we have a relationship with the song, right? And then when after we write it, we already have this intimate relationship with the song.
Yeah.
But then when we produce it, we're actually calculating the imperfections of it, and then after that we do the same thing with human relationship. We push our insecurity onto that song.
Yep.
Right, and then we start hating it.
Exactly.
And, right? We start hating because we put our own insecurities into the song. And it's the same thing as when you're exhausted in college, looking at the same fucking textbook for this, for 4 fucking weeks, and you're still not
So
fucking
many
getting
repressed
it.
memories are coming back to me now.
Yeah,
Oh,
I'm so
God.
sorry. We have a trauma counselor, I think, somewhere in the building.
Somewhere.
So yeah, I mean, get everything here. But I just think it's interesting because, us artists are just so harsh on on ourselves, and maybe if we broke down why we're so hard on ourselves and pushing these insecurities, maybe we could get past that kind of that threshold.
100%. Yeah, for sure. And, I mean, it's nice to have... What I think happens a lot is it's a very primal thing that humans do when they are suffering, and they kind of they retreat. They kind of become reclusive. And it's the same with art, where because it's such a reflection of ourselves, when we don't feel great about it, we tend to retreat. But what I've learned, and this is something that a lot of the songs on my second album are about, like learning to accept getting help from others, because trying to be independent aggressively is kind of a trauma response, where it's like,
Absolutely.
I don't want to get hurt. I don't want to be vulnerable. I'm just going to do everything myself. I don't need anybody. And artists do the same thing too, where they isolate themselves. And that's kind of where that self-doubt starts to creep in. And it's good to break out of that, open the windows, let the light in, talk to somebody, because they're going to ground you, and it kind of takes the focus away from your insecurities, because it's so easy to go down a rabbit hole when you're by yourself. But when you reach out to a friend, they're able to pull you out of the darkness a little bit.
So getting on that, so anyone who is listening to this, you're going through some hard times and maybe struggling with anything that's going on, please reach out to anyone and just talk a little bit.
Literally, reach out to me. I would be more than happy to talk to you. I've been there, probably, so I know how to get out.
And then download our albums, because they're freaking incredible.
They are really good. Like,
Thank you so much. Yeah.
When I was working the other day, I'm like, wow, this is a really interesting sound. It's like that, like new wave 80s synth pop that's been coming back a lot.
Yeah, I
like,
listen to a lot of new wave. That's probably my biggest influence. And then I love to throw in, because I learned so much music theory. A fun fact, I actually flunked music theory in college. I had to retake it.
So many musicians I see there.
So hard, but now I'm like, you know what? I had to learn these goddamn chords, so I'm gonna use them. So I write like diminished chords, flat twos, shit like that.
Augmented.
Augmented. No, I love doing that kind of shit, because it gives it an interesting sound. I don't think a lot of people do that, and it's also just kind of like malicious compliance on my end. Like, fuck you, I had to learn this, so I'm gonna use it.
Spent so much money on this shit.
Yeah, fuck you. I'm going to use my education you gave
So
me,
much
and I'm not
money.
going to like it at all.
So much money.
So getting a little maybe more about the music theory things. What's your process of like writing songs? Like what's your your creative input for it? Like, give us a whole process.
It's kind of chaotic, honestly.
Oh,
There's no rhyme or reason to it. I'm a definite perfectionist when I write songs. Like,
A chaotic perfectionist.
a chaotic perfectionist. That's
That's a good Tumblr name right there.
chaotic _perfectionist 69.
XX.
XX.
Chaotic perfectionist. XX. 69420.
Yes, perfect. I might steal that. So now you know my Tumblr username if I start one.
Is that even still around? I thought like people stopped using it.
I stopped using Tumblr like 2 years ago. I was like,
that's actually not that long. I think I said like 10 years ago.
I didn't know what Tumblr is.
Wait, really?
you're lucky then.
How? Have you just never been on the internet the past like 15 years?
Imagine,
So it was like
I thought it
imagine TikTok, but like
text posts.
text posts,
Imagine
a lot of cigarettes, and so much more darkness.
and a lot more porn. So much porn. Lots of really weird shit too. Like they got rid of porn like 4 years ago, and then everyone left the app.
But then there's still like sex bots and stuff on there. It's like,
Sex bots.
that's probably like, I probably still have an account lingering around there somewhere, and it's probably all just sex bots
It's all
following me.
It's just sex bots interacting with each other.
I literally feel like I just avoided an accident on a long road trip and just got away from it.
No, it's a lot.
Yeah, pretty much.
It's more mental anguish than physical. Some physical, but
Let's go back to this song.
Anyway.
the process.
So yes, my songwriting process, there's no real formula to it. It is I am a very like I said, I'm a chaotic perfectionist when I'm
Yes.
writing my lyrics. I'm very meticulous about them. So it's usually like the lyrics and the melodies that come to me first, and then I figure out chords based on that.
So how is the melody different from the chords?
So the melody is like, like kind of what I'm singing or any like leading synth lines that I come up with in my head. Like I hear a lot of stuff in my head and then I just kind of write it on a paper, which is why I'm not too mad at myself for getting a music degree. I'm glad that I learned music theory because it's taught me how to hone in on that songwriting skill that I've always had and to kind of put it into tangible form. Sometimes I will have a song in my head for like up to 5 years before I ever put it on paper.
Oh, that would drive me up and through the
and
walls.
I don't know how I remember them, but I do. And it is crazy. So, yeah.
So is that like when you have a song stuck in your head that you know and you don't know the name or the lyrics?
Yeah, exactly.
And so that's like
but it's my songs.
So that's even worse because it's not like you could accidentally stumble
I can
upon
give it. So in a lot of ways it's worse because it's like, oh, I need to just write this down.
So
and
it's
then
like emotional constipation.
Yeah, kinda. Yeah. I haven't heard that term in so long. My parents used to say that all the time. Oh, she's emotionally constipated. She needs to have a good cry. But yeah, that's kind of what it is. It's like a catharsis almost. It's like all of it comes out of me at once. And that sounded really
Musical
sexual.
diarrhea.
Musical diarrhea.
Yeah,
That's the title of my third album, guys. So yeah. Yeah, and then I'll come up with some chords for it. But sometimes I do come up with like chord progressions first or like a synth line first or something like that. So it really depends, but most of the time it's lyrics that come to me.
So back when I was kind of primarily writing for myself and the band I was in, there would be like, especially in college with classical music that was in the public domain. I mean, Mozart's most famous saying was, "I'm not a good musician, I'm a great thief."
Was it good artist borrow, great artist steal? That kind of thing?
Yeah, that's 100% what it is. And there's like so many like melodic lines in the public domain that I would like rip that shit right off and just put distortion on it on the guitar.
Motherfucker deadass rewrote Twinkle Twinkle Little Star, and that was like, he wrote it into a sonata or something like that.
Oh.
Yeah, literally.
Yeah.
Mary Had a Little Lamb, like
Baba Black Sheep.
Put all this orchestra behind it. It was like amazing after that. But
yeah.
So do you ever go out to like a show or something like that, or listen to classical music? Because I know I still do. You probably still do a little bit yourself.
Yeah.
Do you ever like hear something like that and like it kind of inspires you and just clicks and you gotta write something down?
Yeah, that's actually a huge part of my songwriting process too, is just gathering inspiration. Like I started a playlist called Inspo and I just add songs to it constantly that I'm like, wow, this is a great song. I want to write a song this good, and I just listen to it.
What are some of your current inspirations right now?
Right now, I have been really into Marina's album Fruit and Fruit. Froot. She spells it funny on purpose. And a lot of St. Vincent. Like, I saw her at Mission Ballroom and I was just like, holy fuck, I want to be her when I grow up. I know I'm a grown up, but I still want to grow up to be St. Vincent. And a lot of that, a lot of new wave. A lot of new wave. Yeah, I'm really digging like the synth pop stuff these days. Yeah. So my producer's really into that too, which is awesome.
I hear a little bit of folk too, a little bit when I hear, because you're a little southern like I am.
Yeah, that's probably the southern coming out.
Yeah, I hear a little bit. It was kind of cool because you have totally your own style.
Yeah.
Completely. And sorry for the paw noises. We have a special guest. My dog's on the podcast today.
She's obsessed with me, so she's like,
literally.
She won't let me stop petting her. It's actually really adorable. She's got these soft brown eyes. Dogs are great.
Controversial statement out there. Dogs are great.
That's a scalding hot take, but...
How did you develop the current sound you have now? Because like you said, like New Wave has been inspiring you, but your album is very synthy in general. Was that kind of what led you into it, or have you always been...
Yeah, I mean, it's kind of a combination of like my inspirations, kind of the style that was just coming out of what I was writing, and then a little bit of like some of like my producer working through the instruments and stuff like that, his production. It's great. I didn't think it was going to sound as good as it did. I'm going to be honest.
Oh, wow.
And, I remember like listening to the mixing session and just being like, holy fuck.
This sounds like music.
Yeah.
How that works.
Yeah, it is crazy because I was, it's that self-criticism, getting so into my own head, like, oh, are these songs any good? And even the songs that I was like kind of iffy on, I was like, hell yeah, this is a banger. So that's always a great feeling. But yeah, the style just kind of happened. You know, I mean, we are a conglomeration of our respective influences. So like there's a lot of my influence and a lot of my background and a lot of my life experiences too in this song style. But
if you were to kind of venture out into other styles, what would you like to?
Probably psychedelic.
Okay.
I hope that's not messing with the audio.
I think we're okay.
Okay, cool. I'm sorry, what was your question?
If you
Dogs.
could start to pivot into another style or maybe start a new project, what would you want that to be?
Probably psychedelic. I listen to a lot of that too. A lot of like I don't think King is necessarily psychedelic, but like bands like Pond, Moses Gun Collective is my absolute favorite. If I could be in a band like that, that would be awesome. If you haven't heard of them, you should listen to their album Mercy Mountain. It is like my number one album till I die.
If you guys want to sponsor this podcast,
If you want to absorb me into your band, that would be awesome too.
yeah, or at least download her album and check her out. So maybe bring her on tour with you.
Yeah, that'd be awesome. That would be so awesome.
Hey guys, we're gonna have a quick break for our special sponsor today, Tim's Teleportation Services. Get there yesterday. If you're not using their services, get there now. So thank you Tim so much for sponsoring this podcast.
And your teleportation services.
Yeah. I mean, like, you know, Uber kind of sucks. You might as well just go and teleport there. Anywho, getting back to some music, I want to talk about maybe some stories about shows.
Sure.
What is the funniest thing you have ever seen at one of the shows that you performed at? Not been at, performed.
Performed at?
Yes.
Okay. Ooh, the funniest thing I've ever seen. There was one dude. I played a show at Goosetown Tavern with my band Viewfinders. And during soundcheck, this one dude, I swear he was tweaking. He was like,
Crack or just
I have no idea,
General?
and I don't want to know, because
Okay.
he was just like thrashing around while we were playing like actually a pretty low key, like kind of slow, vibey
really
song,
vibing into it.
and he was like kind of moshing by himself. It was the weirdest thing. That's probably the funniest thing.
Like, was he just like alone in his own corner, or was he like in the middle of the crowd?
He was in the middle of the room, and there wasn't a crowd because it was still sound check, so there wasn't anybody there. But yeah, it was just
That's even stupider.
yeah, it was interesting. I gotta say,
Can I tell you guys the grossest thing I ever saw at a show?
please.
do.
All right, so it was 2009. It was a Kanye West concert.
Oh God.
That's your first problem.
Yeah, it was a graduation album. It was like a big deal, right?
Oh no.
But Pharrell's band NERD opened up for them, and they had the song called "Every Girl Standing in the Line for the Bathroom." Right. So
Right.
that song was playing, and I was walking down to go get more booze or more. It wasn't booze. I was fucking 18. I'm a liar.
Lying
For
about the
legal
age and
purposes,
not booze.
for legal purposes, this is a joke.
Yes. Yeah,
What's the statute of limitations on underage drinking?
I don't know, all your life. But anyway, I was walking down, and like, I think everyone took the song literally, and all the porta potties were doing this. There's like an earthquake. But I was like, the people in the middle of this are getting sloshed.
Wait, what do you mean?
God.
When the porta potties themselves were swaying?
I mean, to the point where I thought they were going to knock over.
That's like my worst nightmare. Oh,
Like, the comment getting shitted on got real.
that is awful.
They put the emphasis on the portable part of the potty.
Well, I didn't know
no.
porta potties to move that way, but I think because they're all so close together.
Well, I don't think they're
weren't,
supposed to.
Huh?
I don't think they're supposed to move
They're
that
definitely
way.
not supposed
They're not
to.
supposed to sway back and forth.
That is
like
like a
30s
public
cartoon.
health crisis waiting to happen.
Can you imagine being the person who's so drunk starting that? Like, they're obviously running back and forth into a potty.
Like he probably just accidentally swayed because he's too drunk to stand, or they, and then all of a sudden the entire line starts swaying, and they're just trying not to literally die.
Our
Oh
next
my
sponsor
God.
is Bill Nye. Thank you so much for Momentum in Science.
Yes, thank you for inventing science.
Careful, you're gonna get a cease and desist notice.
For what?
I hope so. Give us some publicity.
Yeah, there's no such thing
I
as
would
that.
frame that shit. If Bill Nye sent me a cease and desist letter, I would frame that shit. I put it in a museum.
I want to
That belongs in a museum.
but I do want to context this saying, I love you, Bill Nye. Like, please don't cease and desist us. We love your shit. I grew up on your shit. I'm sure everyone here did.
I did not.
What is the opposite of cease and desist?
Continue.
Please.
That's called a sponsorship.
Continue and continue.
That's literally a sponsorship.
I pay you and you promote this shit.
Yes, that's the opposite.
There it
of
is.
cease
Yep.
and desist.
The opposite of cease and
It's a
desist is, hey, I'm
sponsorship.
going to sponsor you.
So good segue, talking about promotion.
Yes.
What do you do to promote yourself as a musician and help grow your shows?
What don't I do?
Okay, let's answer that question. What don't you do?
Juggle. Play bass.
Best comment I've ever heard on this show.
I love that.
Play drums. I don't do nude stuff.
So no nude juggling. That's outside.
Sorry.
If you
So
combine the two, you might make a lot.
nude juggling.
That's gotta be a
That I'm gonna write a song called Nude Juggling.
That's gonna be on the
And the whole video is just gonna be me wearing like a black sensor bar.
like one of those like Sims.
Huh?
Can I do the backing vocals? Do something like
Yes. Yes. I would love that.
yeah.
So what I do to promote my music,
Other than nude juggling.
yes, other than nude juggling, I'm very active on social media, particularly like Instagram and Twitter. I take a lot of pictures. I like sharing stories about my life. I like seeing people share stories about their lives. Like,
But what's one of the stories that you shared that's really, people really reacted to?
I think people really vibed with my story behind Ophelia. I feel like a lot of women have been in positions like me where the story behind Ophelia is, I wrote it when I was coming out of a really unhealthy relationship and kind of trying to find myself again.
Right.
And my mind kept coming back to Ophelia's character because I feel like so often in art and literature she's portrayed as this feeble, helpless creature. And I want women and people in general really to just break away from this narrative that we're like these helpless little things. We're at the mercy of the things that happen to us. And I want people to take agency over their lives. And I think when I shared that story, I think a lot of people really vibed with it because I feel like, especially in these weird times that we're living in now, everybody's going through some shit and they want to know that their feelings are valid. They're not alone, but they can make it out on the other side and be stronger for it. So.
Well, I love that.
Yeah.
I told you before, that's kind of the whole point of this podcast.
Yeah.
Is try to help other artists out that are struggling. So based off that, what are maybe some things that maybe you were struggling with, a few years ago, or even maybe a few months ago, that helped you get through it, and maybe they can use themselves to get them to the next level.
Yeah, I mean, that's an excellent point to talk on because a big goal of mine as a musician is I want people to listen to my music and realize that they can create whatever fucking life they want to live. If they want to be hermits in the woods, they can do it. If they want to, aim for stardom, they can do it too. And I want people more than anything to love themselves because, to answer your question, that is something that I struggled with immensely. I have complex post-traumatic stress disorder, which means like I've been through some really traumatic things. And one thing that I really, really struggled with was my identity. Like who I am, what do I like, what do I not like, that kind of stuff. Because for so long, my entire personality was trauma responses.
Right.
And so up until recently, I'm at a point now where, I've got a stable job that I like. I'm doing what I love. I'm having fun doing it. I have a happy relationship. And if you had told me even a year ago that I would be here, I would have laughed in your face. But it was, it was that unwavering desire that I had to get better. But I knew that I couldn't get there until I learned how to love myself. And that is something that is a theme that's touched on a lot in my music, is learning how to love myself and learning how to trust other people. That was something that I struggled with a lot, and it is heavily reflected in the art that I create. And it's something that I want somebody who's right now struggling with anything really, but especially with self-esteem and identity issues, to realize that it's a temporary feeling. You are whoever the hell you want to be, and having the power and the desire and the drive to just be that person unapologetically is something that Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely understand because it actually correlates to. I try to read every day if I can, and I'm rereading a book called The Subtle Art of Fuck. The Subtle Art of Not Giving a Fuck, right?
Yes.
So it's talking about the, almost like the Buddhist idea of I is counterintuitive. It makes no sense.
Yeah.
We made it up or whatnot. And I highly recommend everyone out there to maybe read that book or whatnot because it is a counterintuitive approach to the way you should live your life. Like, we can only give so many fucks about so many things.
Right, exactly.
And I think as artists that we need to only give fucks about the things that we really honestly care about. If art's your big thing, paint every day.
Exactly.
Every day. Do a little bit of something every day and make a compound effect that'll create huge art later and bigger opportunities for yourself.
Yeah.
If you're being sad, go talk to someone. We kind of talked about this a little bit. And this podcast kind of turned a little bit about, just trying to help other people out, and we hope we do. Mm-hmm. We're getting kind of towards the end of the podcast here. I want to give yourself a chance to plug here real quick. Again,
sure.
Any kind of local shows coming up, anything that you're going to be at, maybe fans can come see. I mean, anything that you can get.
Yeah. Well, I've got 2 shows next week.
Where?
So my first one is on the 7th at Lion's Lair. It's an acoustic duo that I'll be doing with my fiance Andrew, and on the 14th, I have one at Black Buzzard. It's in the basement of Oscar Blues. It's a really fun venue. It's on Market Street, so it's downtown.
Are we invited?
Yeah, if you guys want to come, absolutely. I would love to have you guys there. That'll be a full band. And then on the 8th, I realized that I kind of went out of order. On the 8th, I'm doing a So Far show up in Boulder. I've got an album out on Spotify. I'm going to be doing an acoustic album probably in the winter. The dog's under the microphone.
We're having some technical difficulties with the animals.
Yeah. So I'll be doing an acoustic album in the winter. It'll have some new songs on there too. And then I have new music coming out in 2022. I have a second album called Lessons to Unlearn in the works.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, it's actually the very last line in the very last song is Lessons to Unlearn. And it's about, all of those the things that I've taught myself in order to survive that I've had to unlearn in order to be happy, and kind of touching base on that. And I'm on Spotify, I'm on Deezer, Tidal, Apple Music, whatever the hell you like to listen to. Listen to me on there. Not Tumblr yet. If I can remember that username, I might. Go
back in Tumblr.
I'm on Instagram. I'm on Twitter, Facebook, TikTok, not MySpace, although I might make one.
Might as well.
And then, I have a website. It's kind of a big deal, right?
What's the website?
It's arilymichele.com. ARILYMICHELE.com.
Well, absolutely love it. I want to thank Nathaniel for coming, Arily for coming. Slumping on my words right now. And then I don't want to thank myself because I literally live in our studio. Mm-hmm. So I just had to crawl out of bed. But
kudos.
Thank you so much for coming. Honestly, it was great talking to you. We had a great time. Please make sure you guys follow this little promotion we have going on. The first 5 people, again, that sign up for our Discord got it absolutely free. And everyone else that does at least $5. We were going to start doing Discord next week. You guys can actually live chat us, hang out with us while we're doing the podcast.
Cyberbully each other.
I would join just to watch people cyberbully each other.
We're going to cyberbully each other.
The most fun.
We will. I'm sorry, guys. You better have some thick skin.
One condition: I get to go first.
To the cyberbullying or to be cyberbullied?
To be cyberbullied, I can handle it.
Oh, you're a masochist.
Maybe a little bit. It's all in good fun.
Virtual masochist.
And a chaotic perfectionist.
On that note, peace.